The Toronto Blue Jays top 30 prospects has been revealed by MLB.com, and there was a lot of movement from year to year. The list looks a lot different than it did in 2022, so we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as a couple of news tidbits for you in Jays land, so stick around on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. It feels like forever since we've done a news video for you guys because the Jays have been playing every day, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a lot better suited for our skill sets that way, but we will bring you the news that we have come across in Jays land, and it is the top 30 prospects that has been revealed by MLB.com, as well as some opening day news that you'll want to stick around for. And Nick, the support's just been unreal.
Yeah, the stream's been phenomenal. We're going to continue to do those pregame streams along with some other streams during the off days. And today's, news video also kind of relates to spring training. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're super close to 6,500 subscribers and we're on the road to 7K. So make sure to hit that button. But let's just get into it, which is Jay's top 30 prospects revealed. And we're going to go through 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30 while breaking down the notable players throughout each. And these are guys you're seeing, or a lot of these guys you're seeing in spring training. Obviously, some people you aren't, so it's pretty relatable to right now. But here's the updated by MLB Pipeline 1 to 10, starting with Tiedemann, Brandon, Buria, Zuleta, Martinez, Toman, Berger, Roberts, Doughty, Mako, and Hayden Janger. Peter, which of these stood out before we get into some other screenshots here?
Well, first is Brandon Barriero, who is looking right now like the light version of Ricky Tiedemann. He's been clocked up to 99 miles an hour, which has been unreal. I mean, his progression before even pitching in the pro levels has just been exponential. You know, he was sitting around 95, 96 when he got drafted, and now he's almost touching triple digits, and it won't be long until he's up there. So his estimated time of arrival is 2026. So it'll be a while before we see Barriera pitch in the major leagues for the Toronto Blue Jays, but that's what they said about Ricky Tiedemann too, and he's knocking on the door of the major league level. So I see him having a meteoric rise similar to what Tiedemann has done. And another one that stood out to me was Addison Barger, who was 13th in 2022, and now he's 6th. So his grades have jumped off the charts. He seems to be next in line to be at the big league level, further ahead than Aurelvis Martinez as well. So the list has changed, and a lot of players are taking a big leap now.
Yeah, and let's get into some of those grades for the notable players like you discussed. We have Ricky Tiedemann here. Here are his updated grades, and these are from 20 to 80, 80 being the highest, 20 being the lowest. He grades at a 65 fastball, 55 slider, 70 changeup, which is a plus pitch for him. Very, very elite, as we've seen in his brief spring training stint there. And he has a 50 control. And honestly, I could see his fastball maybe rising up to a 70 if he continues to pitch at 99, borderline 100 miles per hour. And then we also have the other stats here from, I'm just going to call him Brendan because I always butcher the last name, with 55 fastball, 55 slider, 55 changeup, 55 control with an overall of 50. And like you said, he jumped onto the scene and he is having a gigantic rise. Number 2 prospect, which is very, very interesting and very, very good to see him. And here's a brief thing in case you don't know much about him, as he has had a major jump. This was their little tidbit on him. It says Jay's coaches have come to appreciate how he isn't afraid to attack hitters in the strike zone, and that mentality mixed with the quality of his stuff makes him a future rotation candidate. Basically says his size calls into questions whether he'd be durable enough to handle that load, and Toronto may have to use the blueprint they developed with fellow lefty Ricky Tiedemann. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully he has the the build to become a starter, but very, very interesting stuff out of him. Major rise.
Yeah, absolutely. And in those top 10 prospects that the Blue Jays have, 3 of them are left-handed starters, which is Adam Mako is one of them, Brandon Barriera, obviously, and then Ricky Tiedemann. So, hey, that's pretty interesting. You know, the Jays that don't have much left-handedness in their rotation, 3 of their top prospects are lefties, so that's interesting to see. And Tucker Toman is also someone that I'm very excited to see how he progresses. He was the first-round pick for the Blue Jays last year, and he's a switch-hitting shortstop. He can play all around the diamond. He's just such a great hitter already, such an advanced hitter at such a young age. He's going to fill out into his frame and add some more power as he progresses in the minor leagues. And it's a much better farm system than scouts and people around the MLB are giving the Jays credit for.
Yeah, a lot of players have started to jump up, and Hayden Jenger as well, who've seen a bit in spring training at number 10. And Adam Macko, of course, the guy we got in a trade, was he's looking very, very good and very,
Teoscar.
very exciting. Yeah, in the Teoscar trade alongside Eric Swanson, so he's jumped into the top 10. But let's move on now to the 10 to 20 range, where you have players like Hayden Jenger, Santos, Gabriel Martinez, Josh Kasevich, Lopez Brown, Pinto, Bonilla, who we'll touch on, Spencer Horwitz, who we're seeing a lot of, and then Leo Jimenez and Manuel Beltre. And anyone here that jumps out at you, of course, we're going to get into Bonilla in a second, but you see again Hayden Jenger, who we saw on the top, but Santos, Gabriel Martinez, anyone else that jumps out at you here? Otto Lopez as well?
Yes. Well, Gabriel Martinez is probably the best outfield prospect that the Jays have at the moment. So he's still a few years away from the majors, but he's shown some good progression. Desan Brown going to be playing with the Canada in WBC. Otto Lopez as well. We've seen what he can do. He's major league ready. And yeah, obviously the one that stands out here is Emmanuel Bonilla, who the Jays signed for $4.1 million in international free agency not long ago. And then Manuel Beltre as well, who is, I believe, the nephew of Adrian Beltre, if I'm not mistaken. And his defense is just phenomenal. He's only 17 or 18 years old, so all those exciting prospects. I mean, Bonilla has superstar potential.
Yeah, and let's get into Bonilla, and you're right. Beltre is 18 years old. Bonilla is 17. And there's, of course, players like Spencer Horwitz and Leo who are, especially Spencer Horwitz, who's getting old now. He's 25 years old, and it's now or never for him for the MLB level, at least for the Blue Jays. But let's get into Emmanuel Bonilla. Of course, we signed internationally, and here are his scouting grades: 50 hit, 55 power, 50 run, 50 arm, 50 field, for an overall of 45, which is, these numbers don't necessarily jump out at you, but he is 17 years old and has tons of potential, and he already has he has plus power, and he has, very solid everything else. So anything else you want to touch on before we move into the 20 to 30?
Yeah, a lot of scouts are even saying that he has the potential to stick in center field with his power, with his speed, with his arm strength that he boasts. I mean, that's just one of the best center field five tools that you'll see for sure.
Yeah,
He's very good.
he is very, very good, and he's very young, which is kind of a benefit when it comes to our pipeline there. But let's get into the last little bit, which is 20 to 30, and we have Manuel Beltre, Alex Jesus, Hagen Danner, Adrian Hernandez, Machado, Palmer, Reiner Nunez, who has had a bit of a shining spring training, Irv Carter, Davis Schneider, Paul Maggiani, and Luis Meza. Anyone here who jumps out to you before we anyone here that jumps out to you before we move on?
Hagen Danner, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, he's been very impressive in the spring, and we'll touch on him a little bit more here. I didn't know this before I read up on him, but he was actually a catcher when the Jays drafted him, and he spent 3 years in the minor leagues as a catcher. He couldn't even hit his weight. He was batting 191, and then finally made the switch. And his raw stuff is really good, and he is on the 40-man roster, so he's got a chance to pitch for the Blue Jays this year. So he's really developed quickly with not too much mileage on his arm. So even though he's an older prospect, I think 24, does that say? 24,
Yep,
25,
24, yep.
24? Yeah. So even though he is an older prospect, he's got potential to be a late bloomer and really develop into a shutdown arm in the Jays bullpen. He's solid.
Yeah, and his ETA is 2023, so right now with the MLB. And we'll get into his rankings right here for Hagen Danner. He's 6'1", 215. It's a big body. 65 fastball, one of the best fastballs in the organization, with a 50 curveball, 55 slider, and 50 control. He could be a very dominant reliever this year if they give him the opportunity to. And I don't know. Hagen Danner has pitched very, very well in spring training so far. He's kind of been one of the shiners so far in spring training. And again, he's 23rd, was it? In the 22nd top prospect for the Blue Jays. But Yeah, that
That's
wraps.
low.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is low. That wraps up the top
Yeah, like
30.
you'd think he would be higher. You'd think he would be higher. Sorry to cut you off
No,
there,
that's
Nick,
fine.
but you'd think just the way he's pitching in the spring here that he would be definitely up there. But I'm sure he'll rise. He'll rise next year.
Yeah, I agree. And that'll wrap up the top 30 and very, very interesting players. And of course, the top 10, which will pop up on last time here, is kind of the biggest headlines highlighted by Ricky Tiedemann and Brandon, who and Yasser Zulueta and Arelis Martinez as well. We can
Hmm.
give her a little credits to. And Martinez he's still hanging around there. His ETA is 2024. He's still only 21 years old. So shout out to him. And let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on any of these players that you're most excited to see or have impressed you so far in spring training. And we'll be responding to all the comments. But let's get into just a quick little news bit now, which is some Jays news that broke today. And we'll have two things to touch on, one screenshot, and we'll break down the first one, which is from Damon saying this shouldn't really come as a surprise, but Alek Manoah will indeed be the opening starter in St. Louis on March 30th. Now, he's had some sources. It hasn't been officially confirmed by the Blue Jays or anything yet, but he's been right about a lot of things, and he says that, to no surprise, Manoah will be the opening day starter on March 30th. And, Peter, what are your thoughts on that? And you can also break the other bit of news revolving around Jose Bautista.
Yeah, we kind of saw that coming. I mean, this was kind of written on the wall. Alek Manoah is going to be the pitcher of the future for the Jays. He's the pitcher of the present as well. He's the guy that they're going to ride and die with, and I couldn't be happier to have him as the ace of this team. So well deserved. And if everything goes to plan, no injuries, no one skipping their spot in the rotation, then he will also be pitching on April 11th when the Jays uh, play their home opener against the Detroit Tigers. And the other bit of news is on August 12th, it will be the official day in which Jose Bautista gets inducted into the level of excellence for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm going to be at that game. I just bought my tickets. I'm going to be going with a friend of mine. Hopefully Nick can make the trip down and we
Hopefully.
can meet up over there and maybe meet up with some of you guys that might be going to that historic day.
Yeah, super exciting game, and it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what kind of fan base or how I'm sure it's gonna be a full Rogers Center, but tickets are expensive to go to that game. So if you guys do want your tickets, make sure to book them sooner rather than later. But that'll wrap up the news video. We'll be back with the normal pregame stream tomorrow, and then the post-game reaction video after, which you guys have been loving. But thank you for all the support. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video or stream, or hopefully both.
Thanks.